I'm Alex Grubard, and remember, always stay true, always stay tuned, and always stay on top of it. What was it? Stay on the beat. Oh, God. Hello, puny humans. I am here from another planet, and I need to be taken to your leader. Do you know him? JFK. That's who it is. That's who's leading us, guys. I'm Alex. It's good to be here. Who do you guys think killed the Kennedy brothers? You got an opinion? No. Look, everybody knows it was Courtney Love. Everyone knows it. Everyone's talking about it. I'll tell you this. I'm done drinking Coca-Cola out of the can. Done with it. I can't do it anymore. Here, I got a can of Coca-Cola the other day, and there was dirt on top of it. Why does that happen? Here's what I think. I think that the Coca-Cola company is putting dirt on top of certain cans of Coca-Cola to slowly brainwash us into subconsciously believing that Coca-Cola is a vegetable. Just tricking us into thinking about the Coca-Cola farmer waking up early in the morning and plucking those cans out of the ground in America's heartland, Atlanta. So good. I had a real beer right here, and I still went to do scene work. Did you guys notice that? Item work. What do they call that? I haven't taken an improv class in a while. It's been a minute. It's been more than a minute. It's been several minutes. It's been years. Okay. Did anyone have a birthday within the past year? Just one guy? Everyone else is off the grid? What happened? I'm with you guys. I don't like being on the grid. Big Brother, Patriot Act, all that stuff, NSA. Oh, if you're not doing anything wrong, then you've got nothing to worry about. Hey, I'm not doing anything wrong, but I am doing things that are illegal. They're not always one and the same. I've seen every episode of Breaking Bad, but I don't own a television. Don't tell anyone that. Let's keep that between you and me and everyone in this room. I need non-disclosure agreements from everyone here. I also need to know what those are. What are those? What are those things? Is anyone a lawyer? I have actually the same birthday as my mom, different year, but it's true. I was born on my mom's birthday, and growing up, my mom would always tell me, "Oh, Alex, you were the best birthday present I ever got," which is really sweet. So now I never get her anything. What am I going to get her? A Beatles album? It's not a son. Frankly, I can't afford either. I don't know. But, okay, let's just move on. I went, are people excited? This is like Christmas time right now. People are excited for Thanksgiving too. I feel it's so soon. It's literally like I feel like I got back from Thanksgiving like 3 days ago. And I'm about to go for Christmas on Monday. And I'm Jewish. Why am I even going? No, but I went home for Thanksgiving, and I know that I'm getting old because my friends from high school and I decided to play a pickup football game. I know, worst thing we could have possibly done. On Black Friday, after just eating all this turkey and then getting like hammered the night of Thanksgiving, we like went out at 8 a.m. and played a pickup football game. And I grew up in Massachusetts. Here's who played. It was Pat, Matt, Dan, Jason, John, Jason, Ryan, and Alex. There's one Jew that did not belong on that field. One person did not have a biblical name, all right? It was me. I just found out what football was over Thanksgiving. I just found out what it is. And they let me. You don't get me wrong. I had a lot to be thankful for. I did not drop that ball one time, and they passed it to me 3 times. So I have a lot to be thankful for. But the thing is like everybody was feeling like sore after an hour of playing, and that's how everybody was. Like we're all in our late 20s, but clearly we're in our pre-30s. You know what I mean? Like people couldn't just do it the same way they used to. And so like after an hour, everyone was like, "That was fun. Let's go home." And then, I swear to God, 3 people's younger brothers showed up with 7 of their friends. And 10 of them challenged 10 of us. And we did, 04 versus 08 or whatever it was. And they smoked us. Oh, my God. I would have rather been a PlayStation 4 at a Walmart on Black Friday. That's how much I got trampled in this game. And then that game ended. And then the current varsity high school football team showed up to do a pickup practice, and then they challenged all of us. And we played them for a 3rd hour. And then the New England Patriots showed up at my high school on Black Friday. And they challenged all of us. And we won. We wrecked them. Just fucking wrecked them. We didn't even have helmets. They showed up in everything. They showed up in their whole garb. I don't know what they were doing. That was weird. Yeah. Did you guys get me? You guys are sweet. I'll tell you this thing. I don't know. Let me ask anybody. What time do you have a real job? You have a fake job? Do you have a thing? You got a thing to do? Part-time and full-time. You have both. That's an overtime. That's more time. How do you find the time? Oh, okay. One of them's cool. That's cool. What you go into work one day? Like when do you wake up in the morning? I guess.
Gotta be done at a certain time, whatever I'm doing.
All right. What time do you usually wake up in the morning? 6:30 in the morning? I have a show tonight at that time. 6:30 in the morning. Oh my God. I can't do that. I suffer from insomnia, the movie. It's very serious. When you suffer from insomnia, they say you should develop a nightly routine, and that's how you'll beat your insomnia. I did develop a routine pretty recently, let me tell you. It works like a charm. Every night when I want to go to sleep, first things first, I shotgun a bottle of beer. Shards of glass go everywhere. It's very dangerous. None of my roommates appreciate it, but I need a challenge at night. Then I smoke PCP, but don't worry about it. I call it getting wet, so it's not a big deal. Then I take a shower with all of my clothes on. Oddly enough, I call that smoking PCP. Then I eat half the leftover Chinese food. I watch 8 episodes of The Simpsons. I watch 4 episodes of South Park, 2 episodes of Seinfeld. I listen to 1 Radiohead album. I go upstairs to the roof. I call every single one of my ex-girlfriends. I go downstairs. I drink 4 more beers. I go back to the roof. I call them all again. I go back downstairs, eat the rest of the leftover Chinese food. Then I have a glass of warm milk because it's an old wives' tale and I love old wives. Then I drink a glass of cold milk. It's my thing. Then I drink a cup of coffee with lukewarm half and half and a slice of lemon. It curdles the milk. It's disgusting, but I gotta get to sleep. Then I lay in my bed for like 45 minutes, but I'm shaking. I go back outside. I say goodnight to every single one of my roommates. Then I challenge them all to board games. We play Risk on a Monopoly board. I drop some acid. We go out into the backyard. I hallucinate several dozen sheep jumping over a fence that I then sacrifice. Now I'm able to say my prayers. I go back up to the roof. I stare at the moon until it becomes my God, which is what I call watching the sunrise. I go back downstairs into the basement, and I don't even want to tell you what I do in the basement because it's illegal. Look, I just have someone's Netflix password. How do you think I've been watching Breaking Bad? Don't tell anybody that. I go back upstairs. I order Chinese food. The sheep would have wanted it that way. I bury all of them. I don't care that they're hallucinations. I respect them. I avenge their deaths, but it just leaves me crippling and torn inside. But then I take a Valium. I buy a platypus online. I buy my mom a birthday present, and then it's like I got to do Comical Beatdown. That's how my day goes. That's my day every night. I know. That joke needs to be put to bed. You guys want me to say that poem again? Guys, I'm Alex Grubard. Thanks so much.
One of the things that you said I thought was really funny, and I'm not going to say it as good as you, but you were like, being comedian is just like being self-unemployed.
Yeah.
That is fucking great.
Self-unemployed.
It wasn't that funny when I said it, but
well,
it was funny when you said it.
Yeah, well, I'm hilarious.
So you said you said you're originally from New York and Boston. It's all good. It's a live show.
Somebody answer that. Somebody.
So
what is that? A smartphone? That's the smartest phone I've ever seen.
Originally from New York, moved to Mass. Now you're in Philly.
Yeah.
Now there's a strong, from what I understand, there's a strong comedy scene in Boston. For years, it's been a strong comedy scene. CK's from there, and there's like a lot of comedians from there. So what comes up a lot in comedians when they talk, they're talking about making the big move to New York or LA. But you came from New York to Philly. Do you have any stake in that big move thing? Is it not?
Yeah. I mean, everybody thinks that it's crazy that I moved from New York to Philadelphia. I mean, unless you're like the lead singer of the Shins, it's like, why would you? I don't think you can get away with that, dude. That's how it kind of works. But You know, I like when I moved from New York, everybody was always like, I mean, still do. As soon as I go to New York to like do a show, every comic in town is like, "Oh, hey, did you move back?" As if like
Right.
they wouldn't know, and I'm just in town for an hour, and you know. But when I moved out of New York, I was always like, "Guys, don't worry. I know that I'll die here." Just the idea that I'll always be back. But yeah, like I kind of. Think that I probably would go back to New York. I'm definitely not really an LA guy. I'm kind of more of a Northeasterner, an East Coast guy.
So do you think that you can make it no matter where you are? Or you have to. Some people believe that you have to go to those different parts to make it.
I think it's kind of hard to, especially as a comedian. I think it's hard to make it without going places in general. It doesn't have to be New York. It doesn't have to be LA. It doesn't have to be Chicago or Austin or London or Melbourne or wherever. You just have to be going places. You're a traveling comedian. That's what being a comedian is. It's about going from one venue to the next. It doesn't matter if they're across the street or across the country or across the world. You are on tour. That's the goal. That's where your CK and your Bill Burr and your Doug Stanhope, those guys from Boston, that's what they do. They're not sticking around Boston.
Right.
You can't possibly just stick around Boston. It's
Some people
impossible.
do. Some people do. Some people are just.
Well, I've never heard of them for
mean,
a
exactly.
reason.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You don't hear from 'em.
exactly.
So have you seen? Is there trends when you like? Oh, New York comics are like this, and Boston comics are like that. Do you? What is some of the trends that you see in Philly comics versus?
Well,
New
I
York?
mean, personality types that's less of it. It's more kind of like what you were saying with like the Boston comedy scene being like kind of a stronghold for like decades about
Right.
like who people that have come through there or grew up there or whatever coming out of Boston. That I think its proximity to New York has a lot to do with that. It's farther away from New York than Philly is, but it's still a giant college town.
Yeah.
And it's always been so people will if you're from Massachusetts. Massachusetts is also a very liberal state, and the idea of speaking your mind has always been a point of Massachusetts, I would believe, and I think that kind of instills in a lot of Massachusetts people the idea of like speaking out and being creative and having an open mind. And that lends itself to comedy a lot. Although when you grow up in like a state like that, quote unquote, kind of nanny state, you end up rebelling against a lot of that stuff and going kind of rougher, which lends itself to being a comedian as opposed to like a pianist or a politician or something like that. Also, then you don't have to go out of state to go to a great school. You can stay in Boston, go to a great school, hone your skills, performing for many college students. A lot of comedians go to college in Boston, and a lot of Bostonian, like Massachusetts people.
Ivy League.
They end up going. Well, they go to Emerson. Or
Right.
they go to Harvard. Some they go to BU. They go to BC. A lot of people went through Emerson.
So you see different. You see people are more liberal, or they change throughout the different towns, or.
But yeah, and then like in New York, I mean, so that the kind of irony of like a New York comedian is that they're not from New York City. That's the like kind of the opposite of what I was just saying about Boston,
okay,
where
right,
Bostonians
right.
is
They're
a lot
like
of
bred,
they're kind of Massachusetts people that went to the big city in Massachusetts
Right.
before making the jump to New York
Okay.
or LA or whatever. And in New York, everyone's from out of town. Everyone's from Kansas City or from Austin. They were the greatest comic in Chicago, and they moved to New York, and they're a big name in 2 years or something. Most people are from a small town. You know, they're just out of college, and then they move to New York. They kind of like just want to. And then they're in New York. They're just in New
You're
York. They're
saying
transplants.
Massachusetts is a very liberal place. And it just reminded me that the first girl I've ever had sex with is now married to a woman, and she moved to Massachusetts. I don't know what that says about me. But she's like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, I'm not gonna say her name, but oh wow, you're married to a woman. Like, oh shit, did I do that?
Oh yeah,
I hope
crazy.
not.
Well, I don't know. In Massachusetts, you can do that. You can
Oh,
get
yeah,
married to a
it's
woman.
pretty
That's why they
liberal.
did that.
I'd
Yeah.
like to ask you, how do you feel?
You can go to
with-
Utah now too, I guess. I think
Utah, I
that
don't
just
wanna go to
happened.
Utah.
No one
way.
wants to go to Utah.
No way.
I can't imagine what the comedy
I have a
scene's
friend
like
who lives
in
in
Utah.
Utah. He keeps asking me to come out. I'm like, no.
Nah, screw that.
So let's talk about material. Do you have any things out, DVDs that we can pick up, or?
I don't have any DVDs. You can find my stuff online, like just some clips and things I've written and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, my website is alexgrubard.tumblr.com.
Grubard.
Grubard, Grubard.
Yes, it's gonna be up on the
Yeah,
on the-
right.
and it's Grubard.com. Alex Grubard.
alexgrubard.tumblr.com.
Oh, okay.
And then, but yeah, I mean, I have some recordings on like SoundCloud, but that's that are just audio. But from just a few sets around from this year, I just kind of did that. But I don't have a CD recorded or anything. I have T-shirts. If you want a T-shirt, if you want an "Are You a Squirrel" T-shirt,
I would love actually. I
contact
would love one.
me.
I would. I'm actually. You're here and here. I would buy one. So
Appreciate
do
that.
you see a trend, like I was saying earlier with some of the interviews, you see with Louis C.K. is doing and the movement that I guess it's kind of started with Dane Cook and mobilizing the internet as part of their mission to get people involved, and people owning the material that they now are releasing. You see a lot of that going on. Is it harder because the media is no longer tangible? We're going away from records. We're going into MP3s. Is it getting people to your shows or selling the merchandise? What's the biggest money maker? And
I mean, I'm not. I've been thinking a lot about CDs lately, about coming out with a record and going through that process. I've even spoken to a few comedy record labels about it, and it's kind of one of those things I'm just starting to learn and experience. But I think as a kind of a thing, like that wouldn't have been open to somebody like me ever. Ever like 15 years ago, that was not really a thing. Like basically, I mean, you think of like the records you guys have up, like Pryor and Cosby and Steve Martin. These are not indie labels, so it's not. They're not. These are Columbia
indie labels.
But
I know what
Columbia, Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
that's who was
absolutely.
putting out
Yeah,
records,
absolutely. Yeah.
comedy records.
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
60s, 70s, and then into the 80s, it died.
Right.
And barely anyone was putting out records. Then in the 90s, people started putting them out on indie labels. They started putting them out on Sub Pop.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
stuff like
Love
that.
Sub Pop,
Sub
yeah.
Pop was doing a lot of comedy. They did like
I didn't
David
know Sub Pop
Cross.
did-
They
wow,
did
that's right.
Eugene Merman. They did a bunch of people, and I'll tell you
wow,
this:
that's right.
you're gonna be interested in this. Let me break it down for
Learn
you.
me something real fast.
So there's a guy. There's a record label called Stand Up Records, based out of Minneapolis. It's one guy. He won a Grammy for a Lewis Black album for producing it. But he runs this label, and he put out the first Slipknot record when he was living in Omaha. Had a
Wow. One
small
guy.
record label. He was just doing like everything in Omaha. Moves to Minneapolis with his wife. Is a huge fan of Lewis Black and goes to see Lewis Black. This is in like 98, 99. Lewis Black he's in his 40s. He just started getting mainstream attention as Back in Black on The Daily Show.
Yeah.
John Stewart had kind of just taken over The Daily Show. Yeah. So this guy, Dan Schlissel, he goes up to Lewis Black after a show, and he says, have you ever, he writes a note and gives it to the box office, like, hey, I used to run a record label. I'm thinking about doing, you ever want to do an album with me? And Lewis Black was just drinking at the bar. Dan walks out, and they start talking, and he goes, I got your note. Your timing is incredible because this year I talked to Warner Brothers, I talked to Columbia about putting out an album. They said no, so let's do it.
Oh, wow.
And Lewis Black did like 3 albums for this guy within like a year or two.
That's dope.
Lewis Black and Doug Stanhope had the same manager, so he starts popping out Doug Stanhope records. And then that just kind of spirals. And now he
that's
has
cool.
a catalog after a few years, after like 10 years, 12 years. He's got a catalog of over 50 records. He's got a Grammy for a spoken word album. And this is all pre-Comedy Central Records. Comedy Central started a record label in like 2003. There's a few more like comedy indie labels. There's Rooftop that's a little more like kind of what you were talking about, going that route of digital so that it's easier to produce albums. And they're doing more of them, but they still do very quality work, and they don't just give them to anybody.
Right.
But yeah, they record them all themselves. That's like a bigger company who has a record label that department is also one guy.
Let me talk a little bit about history before we wrap up. Any old records, comedy records that you were a fan of, or
tons.
What's some of your biggest influence, or some of the things that have withstand the test of time?
To stand the test of time, I think "Let's Get Small," the Steve Martin album, is just one of the funniest things. It's so good, and it's just such a wonderful recording. I have a real appreciation for comedy albums that are recorded in a comedy club or in a nightclub, as opposed to a big theater like most comedy specials are done. Most DVDs are done in theaters that are huge, and I don't think that the recording lends itself as well than like an intimate setting. So I kind of love, like David Tell,
that's a good one.
Skanks for the Memories. Yeah, that is a great one. That I feel like a lot of people my age, like comics especially, were kind of grew up on that album. That was like our album of appreciation and like influenced a lot of people. All the Mitch Hedberg albums.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. And I'm a huge Stanhope fan.
Okay.
And Tom Rhodes. Basically everything on Stand Up Records is great. That's kind of my label. All the Hannibal albums are produced by him.
Yeah, I love Hannibal. Yeah.
They'll do now. Comedy Central will do a lot of stuff with Dan Schlissel. Schlissel will produce.
See how that
Comedy
you hold
Central
out?
will distribute. Yeah,
Tortoise wins
I
the
can't
race.
talk. I was like, distribute. What is my enunciation on this? I'm thinking about recording a label. I can't even speak. Recording a label. I can't even get my words right. I almost said sentences.
Almost. So just give us your email. Your Twitter, Facebook.
Here's my
Social
address,
security
my social
number.
security.
How do we get in
absolutely.
contact with you?
By phone. No, alexgrubard.tumblr.com. I'm also on Twitter at Alex Grubard and Facebook, facebook.com/AlexGrubard. AlexGrubard, whatever.
All right, like
Yeah.
that. Thanks for hanging out,
Thanks,
man.
buddy.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Cool. Hey, Alex Grubard, make sure you check him out. And we'll see you later, man. All right?
All right.
Cool. Thanks a lot, brother.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right.